You're muted, Vessantara.
Yes, I know. Thank you. Okay. When settling? Yep, good. I say, is everyone settling? That's always a cue for 3 people to go and walk off and get something or other. Good, good. All right, so in the last session, session 2, we were exploring the Mandala offering. And we were, I started talking about it as Bhante does, in terms of, yeah, if you were the master of the universe, or yes, if everything belonged to you, you couldn't think of anything better to do with the everything than to offer it to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And traditionally, there was a way of practicing where you offered the view of the universe in terms of like Mount Meru, which is made of incredibly precious things, and different subcontinents. And you gradually built up something which included everything that was valuable and precious and beautiful, and then you offered it. And as the session went on, I was talking about outer, inner, secret, and ultimate offerings. So this afternoon we're mainly going to meditate, but I thought it might be nice just to maybe show you a traditional mandala offering, and also, if you don't know it and you're interested, show you the mandala offering mudra that's used in the tradition, just to give us a sense of, yeah, how this has been done over hundreds of years. And there are still some order members practicing in that way, practicing versions of the mandala offering, which use the traditional ritual ways of doing it. So I'm just going to play with rice for a few minutes. So we've got Caroline on, not only on tech, but on camera angles. So you get to be, yeah, down, 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 down. They don't need to see my face. Yeah, that's good. So somewhere down around here. All right, let's see how this goes. I'm not going to explain it all in great detail if this is more like just out of interest. But if you want it explained in great detail, if anyone's interested, we can arrange it if you contact me. So when you make a mandala offering, you have an awful lot of rice, and you keep it in something like this. You see people making mandala offerings, and sometimes they've got like a sort of bib almost just right up here, but you want something which contains all the rice, because otherwise it goes everywhere, which is very abundant, but also a bit of a nuisance. And then you have a mandala set with a base like that, and then a number of rings representing the different levels of Mount Meru, which you keep somewhere for safety. And then you have a precious jewel, which goes right on the top. And then you have a whole lot of rice, which in this case has got little precious things in it. Can't quite show you that very clearly. So you start off, you visualize refuge tree or yidam in the practice, whatever context you're doing it in, but we're making an offering to all the qualities of awakening, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So you take some rice in your left hand, because the whole practice is about richness and fullness. So you're never empty-handed. So there's a whole lot of rice in the left hand, and then you take the mandala base and you pour some rice onto it, which represents the sort of defilements which prevent us from seeing how things really are. And there are different traditions. In the Giluk tradition, they'll clear that off, reciting a little verse. To Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. Through the practice of giving and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood to benefit beings. Or in Kagya Nyingma, they'd probably be reciting the Vajrasattva mantra. Om Vajrasattva. And some Tibetans do endless mandala offerings. Tsongkhapa, who was the founder of the Gelug school, he did a retreat in the Olga Mountains in South Tibet, where he made 1 million mandala offerings, and all he had as his base was a flat stone. So he wore that sort of part of his wrist absolutely raw. But Tibetans just really go for it sometimes. So having purified or removed the adventitious defilements from the base, from reality, then you start building things up. So first there's the Vajra ground, the nature of reality itself. Om Vajra Bhumi Ahom, great and powerful golden ground. And then around that you have a ring of iron mountains. Om Vajra Rekha Ahom. And then right in the middle you have Mount Meru. And around it you have 4 continents. And yeah, that was the traditional Buddhist idea of how the world was. And we were somewhere on the southern continent, Jambudvipa. And then each of the 4 continents has 2 subcontinents. Kaurava and Kaurava. And then you have, in the different continents, there's something precious. There's the mountain of jewels, the wish-granting tree, the wish-granting cow. I don't know how well you can see this. And the harvest unsown. So there's everything sort of natural, the sort of mineral wealth, crops that just grow with no cultivation, a wish-granting tree, and a wish-granting cow, which I think provides gold, if I remember rightly. So there's all the richness of nature and the natural world. And then on top of that, you start to build up this sort of all the richness of the wheel-turning monarch. So he has things like a precious wheel, which is a symbol of his or her sovereignty, precious jewel, precious queen, and a precious minister who's very wise and knows exactly what to do all the time, a precious elephant, which is immensely strong, precious supreme horse, which would be like the best Rolls Royce, the best executive jet these days, precious general, and a great treasure vase. So the treasury is never empty. So there's all the trappings of sort of human wealth, power, and so on. And then, let's carry on. So then above those, you get into sort of the aesthetic realm. So then you start having goddesses appearing. Goddess of beauty, goddess of garlands, a goddess of music, goddess of dance, goddess of flowers, goddess of incense, goddess of light, and a goddess of scent. And then finally, as we get right into the highest reaches of mundane existence, you have the sun and the moon, and a precious umbrella, and above it all, a banner of victory in every direction. So we've built up an entire kind of world in terms of traditional Buddhist way of looking at things. And then finally, it's like right at the top of Mount Meru, there's the palace of Indra, in which there's all the riches of gods and men. So you've created this entire world with everything rich, everything valuable. And then you hold it up and you offer it to the refuges, to the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, using various verses. And then it's like those Tibetan, sort of sun mandalas. You've created a world, you've enjoyed it, you've given it away to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Yeah, you've made this fantastic offering. And then it all comes apart. It all dissolves away. You just let it go. And then if you're doing a session of it, well, then you build another one and another one and another one. Often you do one sort of full one like that of 37 different offerings. 37 probably is connected to the 37 Bodhipaksha Dhammas. And then often you make smaller offerings. Don't take it right away yet, because. So yeah, that would be traditionally how you do it. And if you do, whole sessions, your mind does get very enriched and very expanded. You're just creating world after world after world, and they're worlds of beauty, and they're all offered to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. But if you want to do it simply, without playing with rice and so on, then traditionally you can also make a mudra which symbolizes what we've just built up. So, where are my hands? Okay, about there. So then to do that, we're going to bring our ring fingers together, put the backs of our ring fingers, so they're leaning together. And then we're going to cross our little fingers and our middle fingers, cross them over into the other hand, not cross them over into one another. So can you see what I'm doing? So we're catching our second fingers with our first fingers, and we're catching our little fingers with our thumbs. Much easier to do this quickly than very, very slowly. Oops, let's do it again. There we go. So what we end up with, if we do it right, is we have our ring fingers sticking up, raised, symbolizing Mount Meru. And then we have the 4 continents around. And so, yeah, you make an offering. The ground is purified with scented water and strewn with flowers, and so on. And then at the end, you offer. And often in the tradition, again, they don't really like you doing this empty-handed. So sometimes you can just use some rice. Or another way that it's traditionally done is if you have a mala, you take a mala, like this one, you just put a twist in it and take it so that it forms a sort of double circle. So it's not too big. And then you make the same mudra with the mala around. And the mala symbolizes an offering of practice. So you're offering all your practice to the Buddhas, to the Bodhisattvas, to the lineage of teachers, and so on. Yeah. So that's just a little bit of playing with rice, but it shows you how things worked in the tradition. I'm going to back off a little bit because yeah, that's better. Good. Thank you. Make a film director of you yet? Okay. Good. Yeah, so if anyone wants to know more about all that, you can, yeah, drop me a line. Just any clarifications, any questions for now?
Hello, Vessantara.
Hello.
Is there a verse that you go with the hand mudra as you offer?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there are different verses that are used actually. The one that's in the Mandala offering that is from Bhante via Parami, it appears twice, once in an English translation that, I don't know whether Bhante did it, but it obviously meant something to him because he really wanted it included. And then there's another one further on in the practice, another translation of it. The version that I know would be something like, the ground is purified with scented water and strewn with flowers. It's adorned with the king of mountains, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. Thinking of it as a Buddha realm, I offer it to the Buddha. By virtue of this, may all living beings attain the realm of bliss. And then sometimes there's an offering mantra as well. If you're offering to the Guru, it would be Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niyatayami. Or if it's to the Buddha, Idam Buddha, etc. Yeah, so if you look in that file with the Mandala offering practice, you'll find the verse in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vessantara,
Hello.
is there any, how can we say, degrees of merit depending on which offering you make? Or is it all worthy of the same degree of merit, so to speak?
We must go into the whole question of merit at some point before the end of the retreat. I mean, fundamentally, you know, the most meritorious is whatever you do with the greatest degree of open-heartedness, yeah, and deep generosity and devotion and love for the 3 jewels. So the form is just a way of catalyzing those feelings. So whatever form does that most effectively for you, that's the form that you should go for. I mean, the tradition, you know, tends to often go for, you know, what's most elaborate and what takes most time and takes most energy. But it's, yeah, that's seeing things in outward terms, and we really need to go to the essence of it and see what form opens our hearts. Yeah. Right.
Okay. So it's down to authenticity then.
It really is. Yeah. Yes. Otherwise, we're into sort of rites and rituals as ends in themselves.
Got a comment?
Yeah.
Someone said, the one time I did the Mandala offering practice, I got a strong sense of play and playfulness.
Ah, yeah. So, don't know if you heard that. Caroline's saying in the chat, somebody's saying, the one time I did the Mandala offering practice, I got a strong sense of play and playfulness. And I think that's great. Yeah, yes, because play is just done for its own sake. Yeah, it's not done Yeah, children, when they're playing, they do learn things, but they don't do it so that, you know, they'll learn these motor skills so that one day they'll be able to, you know, get a job. You know, they're just playing. There's just the delight in the activity itself. And Dharma practice, wants to be the same way. Yeah, we don't want to be practicing finally, you know, because of this or because of that. In a funny kind of way, we don't even want to be practicing in order to gain enlightenment. Yeah. We want to be just fully engaged in the practice itself, and the practice of generosity and offering to the three jewels. It doesn't need any purpose beyond itself. And there's something very, because it is just for itself, play feels very free. And that's how we want our whole Dharma practice to feel. Can you put me on gallery view? Thank you. See more people. That's better. Thank you. Anything else?
I have a question, Vessantara. Advice. It might just be really obvious. When I've done the elaborate, I mean, I've done a lot of daily mandala offering practices, but when I've done the more elaborate, I've used just a plate rather than the whole set, because, well, in a way, there seems to be something a bit like what you said the other day about the hand gestures. There does seem to be something really lovely about following tradition, and at the same time also finding a way to make one's own setup. Is it just trying it out, or do you have any pointers in? Because it also feels a bit sort of bland doing it on a plate. I think that's just how I learned it.
Yeah. Yes, so there was, Pakshini was reminding me that we had an order convention where everyone had a paper plate, and I think they had like a sort of tea towel, you know, to kind of put the rice on and things. And we were making this offering. And yeah, if your imagination was very good, maybe it worked, but there was something about the paper plate that sort of didn't quite do it. So if the traditional thing works for you, that's one way of somehow, I know, giving it a sort of special sense that this isn't just an ordinary object that you're using. But yeah, you can certainly use a kind of a plate or a bowl, you know, that's got maybe not a deep bowl so much, but a sort of wide bowl, whatever works for you. I think if I was not going to use a traditional mandala set, I would probably experiment for a bit and feel what sort of a bowl or plate or whatever worked for me, and then I'd go and invest in something that shape that I found quite beautiful, and yeah, so then have that as a sort of special offering, and I'd use that, and I think that would work very nicely. Does that engage with what you were asking at all, Adversity?
Yeah, yes, it does, because I think also, I mean, it was helpful to learn the practice. It wasn't at the convention. This is, either a few years before or after the one Pakshini talks about, but there does seem to be something quite beautiful about engaging in a ritual in the traditional way it's done. And at the same time, I also undertaken to do a daily mandala offering some years back for, I don't know, a couple of years, but that was really simple and that worked beautifully. So I feel yes, your reply is feeds into my experience of sometimes the objects really matter, but actually if the effect is still there, it doesn't really matter how you do it. So I get both. Thank you.
Yeah. I think yes, we have a real spread within the order of some people who the traditional ways of doing things speak to them, and so that works best for them. Some people it just seems all a bit another culture and nothing to do with their practice, and that's either is fine. And some of us will sort of move between the two even. Yeah? There's often something good about just getting a little taste of the traditional way of doing it, just to I don't know, I think it can feed into finding our own, equivalents in the West. But yeah, I think anything from a completely traditional mandala offering to finding the mudras that work for you, that you've just sort of came to you spontaneously, or that feel as if they feel like a heart offering. Finding the things that you offer that you find beautiful. There are advantages to having a traditional mandala set which you don't use for anything else. It doesn't look like anything that you use in everyday life. But then there are advantages to using something which does look like things you use in everyday life as well. It sort of links it makes it all a bit more directly associated with your everyday life. Because part of where we're moving is in the direction of making more and more of everyday life an offering. Okay, how are we doing? It's time to meditate. So let's leave that there for now. And let's do a meditation in this kind of area. So once we're settled, just taking a couple of full breaths. And with the out breath, letting there be a real sense of letting go. And then just being. Just what's here without any ideas. Now taking awareness down to the ground. I have a friend who's a tightrope walker. And you know, some tightrope walkers, they use these very long poles, which they carry in their hands. And when you carry one of those, your center of gravity is down below your feet. Let's see if we can have a feeling of our center of gravity being down in the earth. And from there, letting the spine open. So the crown of the head is gently reaching towards the sky. Bringing awareness to the body. Particularly any area that feels as if it would appreciate some loving kindness. Now being aware of the breathing. And with each out-breath, relaxing more and more into a sense of spaciousness and openness. And that spaciousness and openness grows, becomes vast. Becomes blue sky. Can feel it all around. Warm, peaceful, limitless. Really bathing in the qualities of the sky. And this blue sky isn't dead space. It's the nature of mind. It's alive. It's creative. So now we feel, maybe see the blue sky in front of us becoming lighter and brighter. There's something wonderful happening in front of us. And out of the blue sky appears the refuge. As always, could be the entire refuge tree, could be a Buddha, a Bodhisattva, could be our yidam. Whatever the form or forms, they embody all the awakened ones, all the qualities of enlightenment. So we're in communication with the refuge. Their loving, compassionate awareness bathes us like sunlight, warms us through. And as a creative response to being in the presence of the refuge, we begin to produce offerings out of this alive, creative blue sky. There can be all kinds of things. Simple offerings of lights and flowers. Things that we own. But also whatever is beautiful, whatever is rich, whatever we love or are moved by. Making offerings of them to the refuge. All these offerings are like manifestations of our love and devotion for the refuge. So if we offer a flower, it's a heart flower. If we offer a whole river, it's a heart river. It helps if whatever we offer, we make it as vivid to our senses as possible. So if we offer a flower, you can see the color, maybe smell the perfume, feel the softness of the petal or the stem. If we offer a river, maybe we hear the sound of the water moving. The feeling if we were to trail our fingers through it. As we offer, the offerings delight the refuge. They're easily delighted. And also this deep mudita from the side of the refuge. So happy for us. So from the refuge comes light, with their qualities, with their adhisthana. No need to keep making offerings. Just taking that light of blessing of adhisthana into us. Now as we watch, as we feel, everything dissolves back into that wonderful, creative, limitless sky of mind. The refuge dissolves away. Any offerings that are still appearing can all dissolve away. There's always more where those came from. The blue sky itself fades away. Nature of mind's always here. The blue sky is just a symbol. We just sit. And finally, we dedicate that all beings discover the riches of their own minds and meet with awakening. Okay. We can actually make any experience an offering. You just call to mind the refuge in our heart. Just make that experience an offering to the refuge. It's always possible, any moment. Okay, thank you. It's great to meditate with you all, and see a good number of you for session 4, I hope. Okay, take me out.